Hello, fellow fight fans. Welcome, as always, to the Untitled Fight Cast, and I hope you're having a wonderful week. If you watched the UFC Fight Night this past weekend, give me your thoughts about any of the fights down below, and maybe we'll talk about one of them in a future video. But for this week, we'll be talking about three fighters who I believe are going to be breakout stars in 2020. So, wrap up, lock in, and let's get it started. So first up, we have a guy who you're either already super hyped about getting into the UFC, or you probably just haven't heard about him if you don't pay attention to MMA outside of the UFC. Now, he's set to make his UFC debut on February 15th. We're starting out with the one and only Brock Weaver, an Indian warrior. And yes, by the way, most Indian tribes here in the United States prefer to be called that, believe it or not, but let's not get into politics here. Anyways, and he comes straight from the reservation. A fighter through and through. This guy has the heart and the skill to absolutely tear through the lightweight division. The thing I love about Brock most, though, honestly, is his personality. Not even just outside the ring and on the mic, but also in the ring. He smiles. You can tell he's having a good time going out there and just sticking it to his opponent. He'll talk to his opponent no matter what position they're in. Standing up, on the ground, in the clinch. He's talking, blowing kisses, all that good stuff. I love it. Now, as a fighter, I wouldn't say he necessarily excels at any one or two particular things, but I honestly think he's so well-rounded that, you know, maybe he's not the best boxer, maybe he's not the best jiu-jitsu guy, but in terms of MMA, he really is the full package. But I haven't seen him look uncomfortable anywhere. He's very active in the clinch, and he strikes more than most people do in the clinch, which I really like. And he'll go for takedowns in the clinch, whether it be a full-on wrestling takedown or a trip akin to like a Muay Thai trip or a judo throw. His takedown defense is very good, and when he does go to the ground, his jiu-jitsu is solid. His hands are really quick, and when he chooses to use his kicks, he controls distance very well. And no, I don't think he's the most technical fighter in the world, and I love technical fighters. That's why Adesanya is my favorite fighter. But I think with the skills and the tools that he does have, I think that he pushes himself more than most fighters do. I think that anything short of knocking this guy out, choking him out, or literally accidentally murdering him in the cage, he's just not going to go away. Even if he loses the decision, he's going to take it to his opponent for all 15, all 25 minutes, and he's going to use everything he has in creative ways. He's going to be explosive no matter how tired he is. I just love that heart of a warrior he has. And with the personality he has both in and out of the octagon, he's going to be great, amazing for promotions. The promoters at the UFC have to be hyped with him coming in on the 15th. So that's right around the corner. I'm pretty psyched for that. And with that, we get on to our next guy. So next up is the man with the submission of the year. No matter what outlet, magazine, MMA show you ask, it's Thug Nasty himself, Bryce Mitchell. Now, he's always been a great fighter, but he originally reached stardom in probably the strangest way that maybe any fighter has reached stardom, not solely based on their fighting. So he was working on his roof, and he didn't have a tool belt. So he was up on the ladder. He had to put a drill someplace. And so he kind of just stuck it in his pants, you know, just kind of in the waistband. And the drill, oh God, the drill turned on in his pants and twisted up his one nut and penetrated the scrotum. And somehow he didn't fall off the ladder. The way he put it was he was in so much pain he couldn't move for a little bit. He was just sort of frozen, like rock solid. He then stayed calm because he had heard someplace about, you know, if you're ever in a dangerous situation, the worst thing you can do is freak out. So just stay calm. And man, this really speaks to how he is in the octagon. But he stayed calm, put the drill in reverse, untwisted his nut, mind you, he's bleeding out profusely and in what he described as the absolute worst pain he'd ever felt in his life before or after. And then he proceeded to drive himself to the hospital. A couple hours and 13 stitches later, and the next day, I think he was back to trying to fix his roof. But the best part about this is that he really went from twister to twister, and that'll make sense in a second, because in his last fight, he got the second twister submission in all of UFC history. Went from a twisted nut to everyone going nuts over his twister submission victory. And man, if this doesn't set him up for an exciting 2020, I don't know what would. Now, he can fight standing up, 100%. But once he's on the ground, this man is really something to marvel at. And my favorite thing about Bryce on the ground is that he's genuinely good from every single position. It truly does not matter where he ends up, which ends up meaning that whether it's doing something risky on the feet and going down to the ground by accident, or going for maybe a submission attempt while he's already on the ground and then ending up in a non-dominant position, does not matter. He has tools and skills in every position, and he's capable of defending himself as well as putting on an attack. He'll strike a lot on the ground, and even when he's on his back, he will throw elbows from the bottom, which I feel like I don't see enough. I've seen it here and there, but I mean, he doesn't just he throws elbows from the ground. Another one of my favorite things about Bryce on the ground is his scrambles. His scrambles are amazing. He is so quick and so creative, but also you can just tell he's trained his ass off. Everything is so instinctual. If he's in dominant position and you try to get out of it one way, even if you do get out of that position, you're just going to end up in a different position, with Bryce most likely still in a dominant position. Between the jiu-jitsu and the wrestling, he's really seriously a force to be reckoned with. And it just, to see high-level ground game that is technical and exciting, I feel like you don't usually get both of those in one package, but he does, and it's amazing, and I love it. And along with all these skills, he also has a personality to go along with it. You know, he's a chill sort of Southern guy who consistently says, you know, I'm not the smartest, but, you know, I've got the heart and I work hard, and I can respect that. He also has a beef with Reebok because they refuse to make camo shorts for the UFC. And I actually really, really love this little beef because it's just that little extra spice that you get on top of the very respectable personality that he has.
The one thing that we need to settle are the shorts. What's going on? Why are they depriving you of these shorts? What's happening? Do we have an update on this?
Man, you know they don't want them shorts. That's the last thing they want.
Why?
I don't know. You know, you talk about making me marketable. Those shorts would make me even more marketable.
Sure.
Hell, after the fight, a dude come up to me from the crowd. He had a pair of camo shorts on and a spray painted shirt. He spray painted a shirt that said Thug Nasty. He came up to me and told me he loved me.
He's also called out Floyd Mayweather.
Or maybe that Floyd Mayweather fight that you asked for not that long ago.
But I'd take that. If he showed up in my front yard right now, I'd take her. I'd hop out the trailer and beat his ass right now.
Did anything happen after you mentioned him on the show last month?
I doubt it. I mean, I don't get online or anything. He ain't showed up in my front yard yet, so.
I just love it. This he's not afraid to go out there and be Thug Nasty. He's gonna work hard in the octagon. He'll fight anyone, any day. I'm just a huge fan. This guy shows up, he delivers in the cage, delivers on the mic, and that's important in this sport because yes, this is a combat sport. This is the combat sport, mixed martial arts. But especially in the UFC, it's not just about how good of a fighter you are. Your personality does matter, and most importantly, being able to have that personality, but then having the skills to back that up and not look like a complete fool when you get into the cage. Because that's the thing about being good on the mic, right? Is that if you end up getting beat, you look like an idiot, which is why it takes balls to go out there and say whatever you want to say on the mic, because then you got to go back it up. And Bryce Mitchell is one of those people that is absolutely going to back it up. And lastly, we have the teenage dream himself, a kid that when he walked out into the octagon, I was like, wow, this kid does not look like a fighter at all. But knowing that he made it to the UFC, obviously he has some skills to back up his sort of almost dweeby look. He is, ladies and gentlemen, Chase Hooper. Now again, despite how he looks, he obviously didn't get into the UFC by accident. But when he walked out for his octagon debut, I immediately knew that he was a ground guy. He was tall and very lanky and lean for the division, and there was just no way that this guy was going to knock someone out on their feet. That being said, when it comes to ground stuff, if you're a wrestler, you also need some muscle. So I was like, all right, probably a jiu-jitsu guy. And boy, was I right about that, but I did not know what I was in for when I watched his UFC debut. So, spoiler alert, just to skip to the good part, he finished that fight in a mounted triangle position, raining down blows. I mean, some hard elbows from the top. And this is after he had almost choked his opponent out. And shout out to his opponent, whose name I forget at the moment, for getting through that choke because it looked really, really bad to the point that I forget who said it on the mic. I think it was Joe Rogan.
He's doomed. He's doomed. It's over. He's tapped. He went to tap. He didn't.
And he was just not from that particular submission attempt. But man, before that, Chase really faced some adversity. Obviously, as a fighter, you don't want to get hit. But if you do, it's important to know that you can take one and then know that you can keep going. And I genuinely think it's going to be seriously hard for anyone to knock this kid out because, man, does Chase Hooper have a chin. And this is not just from watching his UFC debut. I've watched quite a number of his fights before the UFC, and there were a couple times where when it was on the feet, he'll take a shot, but he wears it really well. And I know I keep calling him a kid because I'm a kid and I'm 24. Chase is only 20 years old. Now, with him being a ground guy, his striking actually, in my personal opinion, has a good amount of progress that needs to be done before he can truly be a top contender. His ground game is so unbelievably good, but in MMA, being well-rounded, in my opinion, is always going to be better. But at 20 years old, and now that he's in the UFC at 20 years old, he's going to get the best experience, the best training, the best everything. And while I expect him to have an amazing 2020, which is why he's on this list, I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the next couple of years with this kid. The skill ceiling here is just so high. He's coming in with a lot of skill, and he has a lot to go, but I truly think he's going to get there. Now, who is he going to fight this year? I have no idea. Macy Barber is one of the youngest fighters in the UFC, and she is called The Future. That's her nickname. But in terms of the next wave of fighters coming in, I think Chase really is setting the bar and a great example for what someone can be. And while, again, I do believe that Chase is a bit more specialized than I would personally want to be as a mixed martial artist, he also has plenty of time to round himself out. Whether or not he's ever going to be one of the best strikers ever, who knows? Some things are just genetic and some people's brains just work in better ways for striking or ground game, but I'm just genuinely excited as hell. To say that I am a Chase Hooper fan now, I'd say that that's accurate. I follow him on Instagram. I'm talking about him now on the Fightcast. I mean, out of everyone on this list, I don't think he's the best fighter on this list, but he's the one I'm the most hyped for. So that's what I think about these three amazing fighters. I'm so excited to see how their 2020 goes and how this year goes for MMA in general. If you have any fighters you want to talk about, leave it in the comments down below. I will be doing another video coming a little bit later in the year. Thank you as always for all the support, all the love. We're going to be here for a long time. The UFC has been around now for 25 years, and when the UFC hits 50, I very much would like this show to be a big part of the combat sports community. So if you can share this show to your friends, your family, anyone you know that loves this sport as much as I do, that would mean more than anything. So share if you can, subscribe if you don't want to miss anything, hit that bell to make sure you get notifications. But we're here every Wednesday at 7 o'clock Eastern. Thank you again. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next one.